Welcome back to PicoShots, your source for short, fun videos about drinking. This week, we take a break mostly from reviewing alcohol, and instead, we review drink recipe websites. Having the best and top shelf liquor is only half the battle. Of course, you have to gussy it up to add panache, but you also have to be able to mix what your guests want, even if it sounds silly. And PicoShots is here to help. In the future, we will review some books and gadgets, but today we are trying to find the best in drink recipe websites. And to do that, we set up some performance tests based on common scenarios against 6 drink recipe websites. The sites are Drink Nation, probably the big dog of the online drink recipe world. We've used this for a long time. They also have a portable version for cell phones called Drinkopedia, but it's kind of unwieldy. BarMeister, which we ran into as a link from one of our favorite blogs. It's not high on Google results, unlike the rest here, and is a bit less fancy. Digital Bartender, which is clearly playing up the digital portion. The interface looks nicer than the others, but we want substance over style. Well, not when at a bar. BarGeek.com, which has both a cool name and an interface that appears initially to be classy and intuitive. BarNone Drink Recipes. We hadn't run into this one before, but it was on the first page of Google results. This is not a pretty site, but we're not judging by beauty. And finally, the Webtender, which may have the most utilitarian of the interfaces. Ugly, but again, looks very functional. And they have a fast, but also ugly, site just for cell phones. Those are the contenders, so how about those tests? For our first test, we want to search for a chocolate martini. We choose this as an extremely common drink so that we can test how friendly the interface is for finding it. The perfect site will have a search box on the main screen and take us to a list of matching drinks with summaries. And in fact, Webtender did just that. Drink Nation doesn't show a summary, but will show whichever recipe you click on the same screen, or the last one you clicked on. That's pretty slick, so it's still pretty good. Digital Bartender, on the other hand, almost did great. It has 2 search boxes, one for recipes, on the main page, but the results only have the category, not the summary. Meanwhile, BarNone required that we click to get to the search page. But once there, the options are well thought out, and the results do come with summaries. And then there's BarMeister, which made us click search to go to the search screen, select the type of search, and then type in the query, and then we only got the names, not a summary. Not so convenient. But better than failing BarGeek.com, which doesn't appear to have any search capabilities, only browse, and didn't have chocolate martinis, unless we missed them. Well, this pretty much eliminates BarGeek from the rest of the tests, since this is all about searching. We really don't think browsing is the desired experience, but moving on. Our next test is to try a kamikaze, including misspelling it. Since we've already covered the search processes for a ubiquitous drink, we're not checking for ease of search, just whether or not search helps us with misspelling. BarNone aced this, suggesting a correction to the recipe name with hot links. BarMeister, Drink Nation, and Digital Bartender and Webtender couldn't find anything with the misspelling, but worked fine when spelled correctly. BarGeek also only has the correct kamikaze, but it takes a handful of careful clicks to browse to it. Drink Nation had a drink with the misspelling. Next, we're looking for a drink with Kahlua. Kahlua is a primary coffee liqueur, which is an ingredient in a Black Russian. So we're hoping to get the Black Russian recipe by asking for a Kahlua drink. A good site might have Black Russians for both Kahlua and coffee liqueur, while the perfect site would alias Kahlua to coffee liqueur. It turns out that there aren't any great sites that way though, and again, we will try misspelling it. We expected the same test results for misspelling Kahlua as we got for kamikaze, but that's not quite what happened. Digital Bartender failed this test, having results for Kahlua that did not show up for Kahlua spelled correctly. Meanwhile, BarNone impressed us by returning 2 drinks with the misspelling and returning a suggestion for the corrected spelling, except that the correct spelling was wrong. But when we corrected the spelling, it worked. So BarMeister, Webtender, and BarNone were perfect, even though Black Russians may not have been on the first page, while Digital Bartender, Drink Nation, and BarGeek failed miserably. After the Kahlua test, we added one more. How about a Google-style search for Kahlua Russian? The idea being, return drinks with the word Russian and the ingredient Kahlua. BarNone achieved this fine. Webtender returned all drinks with either term, which was not remotely helpful. Drink Nation returned nothing even when the query was coffee Russian, just in case they only knew about coffee liqueur. Digital Bartender and BarMeister don't allow the search since they have separate searches for ingredients than for names. And of course, BarGeek doesn't do searches at all. So that's our test set. We went in really thinking that Drink Nation would win, and pulling for the clever name of Bar Geek. But in the end, it was Bar None, which we hadn't even heard of, walking away with the trophy, followed by utilitarian but obviously effective Webtender. Join us again soon for a review of top shelf vodkas and of other drink recipe sources. And as always, write to us at producer@picovisionproductions.com and visit our website www.PicoShots.com.